What is up, guys? It's your boy Sports Runs on Diesel Hill back at you with another episode, part 3 of a 7-part series here. And today we're going to be talking about running backs here in fantasy football. I'm going to go over your running back 1, your running back 2s, and your flex option running backs as well. But let's get right into it. Running back 1s, they're pretty obvious. Saquon, or Saquads as I like to call them. Saquon Barkley, obviously number 1 overall pick in fantasy football by far. You got Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, Zeke Elliott, Todd Gurley. I have him as a running back 1, but how healthy is that knee is the real question. And that only time's going to tell. And like I said, in the quarterback situation, the first 4 weeks is going to tell a lot of things about how the upcoming NFL season will play out. So, like I said, only time's going to tell with Todd Gurley and how healthy is that knee. Melvin Gordon, don't get me started on this one because with him, he's got this big holdout situation with more money. He wants more money. It's like a Zeke Elliott. And my issue is just put your pads on and play, man. Seriously, I understand fantasy football is more of a fun thing, but it's like, some people lose the hard way in fantasy football, mixed up milkshakes or whatever, whatever the loser gets. So it's like a lot of people rely on some of these players to get big numbers. And Melvin Gordon, if he's going to pull the Le'Veon Bell thing and hold out for a bigger contract, more money, I feel bad for the people who draft him. He is going to be a running back 1. It's just, is he going to be with the Chargers or is he going to be with another team? I would love to see him stay on the Chargers because I think the Chargers have the best overall team offensively and defensively and even special teams in the AFC. I think they're the best overall team in the AFC. So that's why I would love to see Melvin Gordon stay. But, time's going to tell. How long is he going to hold out for? We'll find out. Nick Chubb, I have a question mark on him as being a running back 1. He is going to get more touches now that Duke Johnson is gone. I believe Duke Johnson is now in Houston. So Nick Chubb is going to get more touches. He had that one breakout game last year for, I think it was like 170-something yards. Nick Chubb could have a break. He's one of my breakout candidates for this season because I think he could have a big season now that Duke Johnson is gone. And he's got the first 8 weeks to prove it because Kareem Hunt will not come back until week 9. So I do like Nick Chubb's chances as being the starting running back or the number 1 the power back throughout the season. But I think once Kareem Hunt comes, they're going to split it between them, the touches. And Nick Chubb will probably be your third down running back. But we'll see what happens. Outside of that, there's Dalvin Cook out of Minnesota. I think Dalvin Cook is going to have a good season this year. But outside of that, it's going to be tough to tell whether or not he's going to get consistent touches. I don't doubt that he's going to be healthy all year. It's just, can he stay healthy all year? Devontae Freeman, very explosive. I would love to see him get more touches. I would love to see him have a running back 1 status. I have him in there, but I have question marks next to him and Dalvin Cook because it's just, Matty Ice throws the football like crazy. Both Matty Ice and Kirk Cousins are gunslingers. So it's very easy for Dalvin Cook and Devontae Freeman to go to a running back 2 status because of those reasons. Both quarterbacks have great wide receivers. We got Julio Jones. There's Mohamed Sanu, Calvin Ridley, Austin Hooper for Atlanta, and then Minnesota, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, Kyle Rudolph's it's like, so it's like these running backs will get their touches, but they're very likely going to be a running back 2 more than a running back 1. They're fringe running back 1s right now. James Conner, Definitely have a green light for him as a running back one. I think he's going to have a great year numbers wise. Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line is very underrated, and it, they proved it last year when James Conner came in because Le'Veon Bell was in his dramatic mode. James Conner was putting up big numbers, not only in the running game, but also in the passing game as well. So I like James Conner as a running back one status. Breakout candidate, could have a running back one type year, is Kerryon Johnson out of Detroit. I think he could have a big season, but he's probably more going to be towards the running back two numbers. Time's going to tell on that. Like I said, the first 4 weeks will tell you how well they're going to be doing this year. Kerryon Johnson, he's one of my running backs to keep an eye on early in the season, because if he starts putting up big numbers early, he could have a big year, and could be a running back one status, obviously. Now down to running back number twos, starting off with James White. James White had a fantastic year last year, put up running back one numbers, over 1,100 combined scrimmage yards, 12 total touchdowns, 5 rushing, 7 receiving. I don't know if he's going to be putting up those same kind of numbers. That's why I'm dropping him down into a running back two status. Definitely pick him up if he's available on the board, because I do believe James White is probably Tom Brady's favorite. I think he's Tom Brady's favorite target to go to, especially out of the backfield, because Tom Brady does a lot of dump down passes. Especially here late in his career, you don't see a lot of Tom Brady's deep ball throws. But I like James White as a running back too. Could have a running back one year, but I highly doubt that with the addition of talent they got now in the wide receiver. Josh Gordon's been reinstated conditionally. You got Demaryius Thomas, N'Keal Harry. I think, and then they got some returning guys, Philip Dorsett. There's all sorts of other guys as well as Sony Michel, the other running back there. But James White is going to be the third down running back, but I do think that Sony Michel will get the power back touches, but James White will get the receiving end of those touches and possibly put up another running back one year, but we'll see. Fournette. When Leonard Fournette's healthy, he's definitely a running back one. Can he stay healthy? Because, I was on the losing end of this one last year. Had a good first 3 or 4 weeks of the season, then that hamstring injury happened. A couple weeks go by, he comes back, he re-injures the hamstring injury. And now he's out the next 8 weeks. So this is what I tell you. If Fournette is a boom or bust running back, I put him in a running back two situation with upside to be a running back one if he stays healthy. But he's got to stay healthy. He's got to prove to me that he could stay healthy for 13, 14 games out of the year, So it's like he can't miss half a season and expect to be put in the running back one category. So I have him in a running back two category with the running back one upside pending health. Kenyon Drake out of Miami, bust alert. I think Kenyon Drake is prime for a downfall this year. He did put up decent numbers last year. I have him in running back too, but he could be going down to a flex alert, pending the quarterback situation that happens in Miami. There's, no one even knows about Ryan Tannehill anymore. No one talks about him anymore after the ACL tear in the preseason last year in a practice. No one talks about him. Now it's Josh Rosen and Fitzmagic. So it's like Drake's got good explosiveness, but he's got to prove to me that he's in the running back two category. So I have him in RB2 because he can put up those kind of numbers, but I have the arrow pointing to the flex option because I don't know if he's going to put up those numbers with the quarterback situation going on right now. Also, I have Mark Ingram as a running back too. He's in, with the Baltimore Ravens now. I got Derrick Henry as a running back 2. He's a sleeper alert. Another running back I would say watch out for because the last like 5 or 6 of the weeks of the last season, he just went off. That 230-something plus yard rush game with 4 touchdowns. I think that was a Thursday night game. I mean, like, I would love to see more of that out of Derrick Henry. You know, if Derrick Henry puts up numbers like that, like I said, I have a sleeper alert on him, and I have a breakout alert on him too, because he could be put in the running back 1 category if he puts up consistent numbers. The only problem was he was in Tennessee, and with the Titans, and at times they had other running backs there like Dion Lewis. They had all sorts of other guys there, so it's just like, so keep an eye out for Derrick Henry. I think he could have a big year. Philip Lindsay out of Denver. I mean, to be an undrafted, if I remember correctly, he was undrafted. I could be wrong about that. Please comment below if I'm wrong on that. But from being undrafted to being an all-pro in his first season, I mean, Philip Lindsay just knocked the ball out of the park, with his explosive running, his catching ability, his rushing ability. Philip Lindsay is a running back too, in my opinion. He could be more of a flex option depending on the type of league you're in. But I mean, everything I'm saying to you is based off a 10-team league. Deeper, if it's an 8-team league, because sometimes people do 8-team leagues, he's definitely gonna be a running back too. But if we're talking a 10-team league, he's definitely a running back too. But he could be more of a flex option with the other options that are in front of you. Joe Mixon, I have him as a running back too, even though he is I think they rank him 9th in the running backs. So he's a top 10 running back, capable of putting top 10 running back numbers, excuse me. But the problem is one thing: Andy Dalton. Joe Mixon's capable of putting up consistent numbers, but can Andy Dalton put up just as consistent numbers in the passing game? Because that would balance out Cincinnati's offense so well, even though I'm cutting the head off them because I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, period. But Joe Mixon, running back too, because of Andy Dalton. I have, I think it's Josh Jacobs out of Oakland. I have him as a sleeper, could have a breakout season. I love Josh Jacobs. I think he's a great player. I think, like I said, running back 2 numbers, potential to put up running back 1 numbers, depending on Derek Carr and Antonio Brown chemistry. They lost Jared Cook, the tight end. See how that goes. But Josh Jacobs, keep an eye on him as a sleeper. Also as a sleeper, Duke Johnson, who's now in Houston, was with Cleveland, now in Houston. He's going to be with Lamar Miller and company down there in Houston. I just like Duke Johnson better. I hope Duke Johnson gets more touches than Lamar Miller. Lamar Miller's slowly going on the downside of his career because I just don't see consistent. I see consistency at being inconsistent out of Lamar Miller. So it's, Duke Johnson's capable of putting up more fantasy points than Lamar Miller. So that's why Duke Johnson's a sleeper. I have him as a running back 2, an RB2 in this situation, with Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller and all those guys down there. Darius Geis, also another sleeper, capable of putting up running back 2 numbers, coming off an injury last year. I believe it was the ACL injury. The thing is with me is, I just think, there's no Alex Smith there anymore. Now I believe it's going to be Dwayne Haskins, as the starting quarterback for the Redskins. So we'll see how Darius Geis and Haskins have chemistry-wise. But I think Darius Geis can put up running back 2 numbers this year. Also, Jordan Howard, who is not in Chicago anymore. He's in Philly. but there's all sorts of stuff going on in Philly. I'm trying like I'm trying to remember some of the running backs who were there. I know Ajayi was there, a year and a half ago. I don't know if he's still there or not. There's a couple players that I just don't know about Jordan Howard. He's a sleeper in my opinion because the last couple of years in Chicago, his like 2 years ago, he was definitely a running back one. He was one of 9 running backs that had over 1,000 yards rushing for the season. Jordan Howard could potentially put up those numbers again. Honestly, the NFC East looks really strong with the exception of one team, the Giants, and two teams, Giants and Redskins. But I really do think that Jordan Howard could have a potential 1,000-yard season. That's why I have him as a running back 2 in this situation. He'll get close, but he's got this new team, new offense. We'll see how it all plays out. And from there, we go from running back 1, running back 2s, and now we're into our flex options. I put Tevin Coleman as a flex option, but I think he has more of an upside to be a running back 2, even though Jerick McKinnon's there. Matthew Breida's there. I think Matthew Breida and Jerick McKinnon are going to be more of a flex option. I think Tevin Coleman has an upside to be a running back 2 because he's been more and more consistent as the season goes along. Because Devontae Freeman's been so injury prone the last few years. They've relied on Tevin Coleman. Tevin Coleman has great durability, good pass catching back as well. So that's why I have Tevin Coleman as a running back 2 upside. Kareem Hunt, the only reason why he's in the flex is because he suspended those first 8 weeks. Once he comes back, I have him as no, I actually don't have him as an upside to a running back 2 because there's just not enough. He's not playing enough weeks to get into that running back 2 status, but he definitely is a flex option. Keep an eye on him in the late rounds in the drafts here, guys, because if he stays around, I would definitely save a pick for him if he stays on the board 10th, 11th round and he's still up there, even the 8th or the 9th round and he's still up there. I would snag him because what he did in Kansas City, he just had field day with New England every time they played against New England. But I think Kareem Hunt's explosiveness will be a key factor for this Cleveland Browns team. And I do think Cleveland it's going to be very helpful for them because now you got 2 explosive backs in Nick Chubb and now you got Kareem Hunt. So Kareem Hunt flex option because of the first game 8-game suspension. AP Adrian Peterson's a flex option. He has those occasional big games like last year with the Redskins. I believe he's going to do more of that this year. I believe he is going to have, he's going to have those occasional big games. One big game every 4 or 5 games or maybe every 3 games. He'll have a big game where he gets 20 plus carries over 100 yards and maybe a touch or 2. But I have him as a flex option. Bigger because of deeper leagues. He is more of a flex option than anything else. Frank Gore, the ageless wonder as a running back. I do believe that Frank Gore is going to be a flex option now that he's on a new team. But Frank Gore flex option. Austin Eckler out of San Diego. I have him as a flex option, but because of Melvin Gordon's situation, and if he leaves, Austin Eckler, I believe it's Justin Jackson, those 2 guys, Justin Jackson will probably be brought up to a flex option, and then Eckler, I have Eckler with an upside to a running back 2 status because of Melvin Gordon if he doesn't stay in LA. If he doesn't stay with the Chargers, then that leaves Eckler wide open as the number one running back, or they'll split the touches and Eckler will get more of the third down touches where the pass catching touches as well. So, but Eckler is a flex option with a running back 2 upside pending Melvin Gordon. Same thing with Justin Jackson. Currently, I have him off the board, but If Melvin Gordon leaves, put him in the flex option. Tariq Cohen out of Chicago, very, very speedy and explosive running back. I have him as a flex option. If he's on the board, 6th, 7th round, pick him up because I think he has the capability of putting up even bigger numbers now that Jordan Howard is not there anymore. So keep an eye on Tariq Cohen. Dion Lewis out of the Tennessee, the Titans. He's also another one that you want to keep an eye on. Chris Thompson, I have him as a flex option, but I believe he's just a little bit too injury prone for my liking. So that's why I have Chris Thompson as an as a flex option. And then there's Hines out of the Indianapolis Colts. I believe Hines will be a flex option. I do have him on the sleeper side. Breakout. He's more of a sleeper than anything. Could have a breakout year, but for the most part, he is a solid flex option. But other than that, I mean, running backs to avoid. I only really had 2 running backs to avoid. One is LaShawn McCoy. Downside of he's on the back end of his career. I think LaShawn McCoy. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to put up decent numbers. I think he'll put up decent numbers, but LaShawn McCoy is one running back I would tell you guys to stay away from. And the other running back I would tell you to stay away from is Lamar Miller, only because of Duke Johnson III. So those two, just the inconsistency from LaShawn McCoy and Lamar Miller is also part of the reason why, too. We just haven't seen the numbers that we're accustomed to seeing, especially out of LaShawn McCoy. You know, he was always known for putting up 100-yard games all the time, and now it's like you maybe get 3 or 4 100-yard games out of him a season now, where he used to do it almost every week or every other week. Now it's like, you know, I feel bad for LaShawn McCoy, but I think he's got potential upside to be a flex option. You know, Frank Gore's there on Buffalo now, so it's like now there's 2 guys to split the carry load now. And Frank Gore, I feel is more of a reliable, more of a dependable option for the Buffalo Bills than LaShawn McCoy, because, you know, Frank Gore is so durable. And I mean, I'm not saying McCoy doesn't get hurt. I mean, I don't see McCoy hurt much, but Frank Gore has been more durable. He's been doing it for 15 plus years. So that's why I like Frank Gore over LaShawn McCoy. Lamar Miller, you already know what I said about Lamar Miller. Duke Johnson III's there with him, and I think Duke Johnson will get more touches in the pass catching game. But I want to thank you guys for your time. Stay tuned for part 4 coming up very soon on wide receivers, who's to watch, who's got a big potential upside, players to avoid. You'll be shocked at some of the players who you should avoid, some of the wide receivers who you should avoid in the draft, in the fantasy football draft. But like I said, guys, thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate the people who are subscribing to me on YouTube, Facebook, all that jazz. But please comment below. Please subscribe. Please hit the like button. I just appreciate all the support I'm getting so far, and I continue to keep grinding away. But thank you guys for your time, and have a great night.